Hi, for any of you who don't know, I'm Kyle Robert Hoffman. My website is cuddlingandcoaching.com. For a number of years, I've been doing cuddle therapy, intimacy coaching, life coaching, and workshops. And and today I'm only speaking about my private practice. Uh, I have myself advertised as like a contractor or doing different modalities on some different other third-party companies. And anything I'm talking about today is only through my own private practice. And I'm here with Michelle Renee, and Michelle, let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm Michelle Renee. I use pronouns she, her. I'm based in San Diego, and I too talk today as a private practice owner in touch. But Kyle and we met each other through cuddlist.com. I happen to be the director of training. So this is not a conversation about official cuddlist protocol. This is a conversation that Kyle and I have some overlap in that is not about cuddlist sessions. So I want to just say that as people know me from so many different places, Kyle and I are going to talk today about why we like to bring nudity into our work, because it's something that we have a lot of passion for and overlap. And I just thought we could demystify it a bit and talk about how that has worked with our clients, what our processes are, what we see as the benefits. And maybe we'll even touch on some of the limitations.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Kyle, what's your experience? How did you decide to start bringing in lesser clothing as an option for some of your work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle. I'll answer in a moment. And you also prompted me to say that also for myself, like I work with people in all different ways, and for many of them, like no clothing is ever removed. Like there's never pressure. That's not the goal. I just do pure life coaching. So yeah, I'm just sharing with this as like a one option tool that I've expanded to over years. And I mean, how I've got in there in my professional work is been doing this touch and cuddle therapy work and combining coaching with it since 2018. And up until 2023, it was always fully clothed, which was really great. And over time, um, as I had been working with clients, I saw that sometimes within that constraint, I could help them up to a certain point, and they still needed greater help that would be helped by clothing being able to be removed in a consensual and safe and professional container. So, for example, sometimes if I've worked with people who have had trauma, like sexual or physical trauma, or just have been, I shouldn't say just, or have been out of dating, or maybe never have been dating or intimate people, it's so amazing to do the work clothed to help them get up to a certain point of comfort. And then I had many clients wanting to continue this work, and then I'd refer them to other people. And eventually I'm like, you know what? I feel comfortable to and to keep getting training and do this. So that's definitely been a benefit that I've seen, that I can provide like a longer bridge, one between and a bridge that goes closer to personal dating or intimate connection in their personal life. Um, Also, I can feel I can go further in helping people heal trauma and become more comfortable with boundaries, because setting boundaries and asking for what you want clothed versus some or all clothes removed it's a different level. And for many people, it's a different level, requires a different amount of comfort and can bring different things up. So there's a lot more I can say before I talk too long. Yeah, those are some things for me. How about you, Michelle? One, how did you get here, if you'd like to
Yeah.
share, and benefits you've seen.
I remember when I got out of my first marriage, I was working on my sexuality, my ability to orgasm, and I came across Betty Dodson, who was an old badass sex educator, who really her offering was a masturbation workshop, and part of that was you had to be naked for 2 days.
Mhm.
And I was not there. I was at that time, I wouldn't even take my kids to the beach because I didn't want to be seen in a bathing suit, let alone walking in to a woman's Manhattan apartment and hanging up my clothes the minute I walked in the door. It was a goal to get to, right?
Yeah.
And I got there and it got normalized really quickly. And part of Betty's thing was that we hide behind our clothes in so many ways, and it kind of levels the playing field. And I was playing in the kink world. I was finding myself in situations where I was getting to practice being naked in public spaces. And it really helped me kind of love myself. I got to see a wide variety of bodies. We had this idea that the only people that get naked are like supermodels, right? And that's not true. And so it became part of my own journey. And so as I've worked with clients, occasionally, like you said, you get to a point where there's like a next stage, right? Not exhausted, but we certainly have set a good foundation. I think of my work as like a couple of phases, and phase one is very clothed and platonic. Phase two, for me at this point, is still platonic, but what does it mean to get comfortable in your own skin in front of another witness?
Mhm.
Right? It might not be that you're ready to go into a public space and do that work, but what about one-on-one when somebody else is willing to get vulnerable with you?
Mhm.
And we move at the client's pace. Some people are like, let's just get it over with and take our clothes off. And I tend to do some mirror work with them in that space, but also cuddling naked is different. Like you said, it really can touch on some different places around whether it's trauma recovery, body image, um, just being comfortable with another body.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's such a stepping stone to getting back into the dating world that it comes up in my work pretty often, and I'm loving that it is.
Mhm.
It's so nice to create a space where people feel comfortable to take that big risk. Because for some
Yeah.
people, that is a really big risk. And what I really love is that there is science that says
Mhm.
that one of the best ways to get over body image issues is
Mhm.
public nudity.
Mhm.
And we'll put a link to that article in the description for this video. But this is something that we can do in our space. And I think you and I both feel we can do it because we're comfortable.
Mhm.
And you get to borrow some of our comforts while you push your edges a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's everything you shared is so beautiful, Michelle, and yeah, it feels helpful for me to share a little bit of my also personal journey to get here because I started incorporating the clothing option work in 2023. It's been a much longer journey for me personally. Like growing up, naked wasn't okay. Yeah, even in for me in boys' locker room or stuff, like yeah, I felt embarrassed. I felt scared. And I felt really vulnerable. I mean, and I guess invulnerable in like a not like enjoyable way. I was just like trying to minimize it. So yeah, I've like starting in 2009, I did an all men's workshop that it was called the Mankind Project that involved like optional sometime it could be optionally nude, and that was really powerful for me. It felt so bonding. It felt for me like I was getting more in touch with my ancestors and how some of my ancestors connected and showed up together. Created more safety for me among men to be able to trust that and see that it can be safe, we can dance, we can hug naked, and it's okay. And for me, parts and it doesn't have to be sexual. People might feel feelings or attraction, but it doesn't have to become sexual in the acts. Um, I went to a number of all gender clothing optional workshops and on like intimacy, sexuality, and love. And those are beautiful and powerful for me, tantra workshops. And so so yeah, it's been a significant journey. And then it was like incorporating that more into my own personal life, whether with, especially for me, some of the growth edges with platonic friends that I wasn't romantic or erotic with, but yeah, be able to connect in a clothing optional way, either just being present together or yeah, sharing touch or cuddling, has been really amazing. And it's been a journey. So that's some for me. And I so agree with you about the body image, that so much of what we see in US mainstream culture is people of only certain body types. And then it's often like it's airbrushed. It's like probably take 300 photos and pick the very best one. Like I think even videos have a lot of editing now, and it really creates or contributes to a lot of people thinking that they're less attractive, or that they're abnormal, whether it's it can be any body part, but stomach, genitals, butt, chest, breasts, etc. So yeah, I really agree with you about the body image piece.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things that happens is a lot of my clients don't have a lot of relationship experience.
Mhm.
And when I get to share with them everything I love and don't love about my body, and they get to see, like I'm very like transparent with them and tell stories about how my body got to where it is. I'm 48, I've had 2 kids, I've went through weight fluctuations, and there's hangy skin and stretch marks and all these things. And I try to love myself as much as I can. I'm big on body neutrality, not necessarily body positivity. But for a client to be able to know what's happening in my head and see me differently and say, but I like that part about you,
Mm,
right? Then they can take that into their next relationship and have more compassion for the person they're standing in front of,
mm,
that they have their own stuff going on at the same time. And that's like probably my sweetest little spot of the work, is just them getting to know um, all of me that way. Like it's not seeing the polished outside,
mm,
it's what's going on underneath here, and getting to talk about what goes on in here underneath here too. And
mm,
so, question for you
mhm. Actually,
is it,
before, can I just share something that I thought
yeah,
about that you just shared? And also say for myself and my clients, when talking about comfort, my experience, yeah, for myself and clients also, that the more comfortable that we become with our bodies, acceptance, positivity, whatever's right for you, the more that, and I'll just speak for myself right now, I'm able to, or we're able to help like future, whether it's friends or romantic partner, feel more comfortable with their own body, or their own sexuality. Like the more that we're able to show up in our personal life grounded and having worked through more of our stuff, it's like a role model, and it's giving other people permission to feel more comfortable. So that feels so exciting and amazing to me, that it's this,
there's ripples.
yeah, there's ripples, yeah, really
Yeah,
positive.
the student
Yeah.
becomes a teacher. And that's, I often tell clients, one day you're going to be in my role and you're going
Mm,
to be helping somebody else feel comfortable in
mhm.
their body.
Yeah.
Right? It's so powerful. Question I wanted to ask you. Is this something that people can sign up for with you right off the bat? Is this something they work up to? How do you determine who is a good candidate to work
Mhm.
with you in this fashion?
Sure. Excellent question. Well, pretty much almost anyone that comes in me, whatever kind of work they're looking to do, we'll usually do a little bit of emailing and then like an initial Zoom call. So that's somehow I get to know them, what they're working on, and what both our comfort zone is, things like that. What might be right for them. And I say to, well, in all my work, say that any of it, it has to be like a mutual yes between us. And that means, yeah, that I'm honoring my own some feeling of emotional and physical safety. And doesn't might not always be logical things, or maybe like someone just reminds me of someone who had a negative experience with in the past, and that's going to affect like the timing of what I feel comfortable with when. So that's always in place. And I I don't think I've ever, or yeah, I don't know if I've ever like had clothing removed like right in the beginning of like a first session. I can't think of any times like that. Like, well, I could see myself maybe being open to that if it's just someone that um one either it's like, wow, it's really clear from our video call, there's a lot of comfort and they're very good about consent and things like that. Or maybe they have some training or some involvement in other self-growth that I feel more confident, or maybe if I know them in a different place. So yeah, that could be possible. And but more commonly what goes on or how it goes is either throughout a session that's like a couple hours long, or a few sessions over some people a long, or I shouldn't say a long time, could be weeks, months, a year, based on what on their own progress and comfort zone. And I, as much as they're willing, I have them lead that, like, so it's not coming from me but their own pace and asking for what they want, to make sure it's safe and something that's really good for them. Um, yeah, so hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I've never done any nudity in an initial session. I can imagine if someone came to me that was already a nudist or naturalist, and they were just wanting to have, like, let's say a cuddle session. And because I've thought about at times, I would be totally down to offer my service in the nudist community, like go to a resort and book clients there. I wouldn't have any issue with that because there's something, um, nudity has already been desexualized in
Yeah.
those communities. They're
Mhm.
very protective, actually, of desexualizing nudity.
Yeah.
I find them to be a little sex negative, those communities, because they're so hyper vigilant about protecting that nudity and sex don't have to be intertwined,
Mhm.
right? So that would be the exception that I can think of, but generally it is like a further stage in my work with clients, like a stage 2,
Mhm.
where we've really established a really good foundation. I always think of Betty Martin. I don't know if you've done a Wheel of Consent, but one of the
Not
things
fun.
they talk about a lot in there is that we have to learn these new skills in a non-sexual space.
Mhm.
That means nudity has to get to that kind of next step, to do nudity in a non-sexual way, we're going to have to learn some stuff
Mhm.
first. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of times in my work, when I'm working with people that are in a scarcity space
Mhm.
around sex,
Mhm.
we have to do some work around getting through those feelings of sexual arousal
Mhm.
just in cuddling, right?
Mhm.
Because having close physical contact, I expect that to be activating for people when they haven't had, when they've been in a loss around sex, like they just haven't had that experience in some time. Of course, touching another body is going to bring up some stuff,
Mhm.
but I firmly believe that we can get through that,
Mhm.
right? And normalize this new experience to them, because it is a new experience for people. Like
Yeah.
nobody comes in, not nobody, most people don't come in here and they're like, I am proficient at cuddling. I've been doing this with professionals for years. And there are the people that do kind of travel the circuit, right? But most people that come in here, they're scared to death.
Mhm.
And they're just like, it's a big barrier to even get in the front door. So like you, I don't offer
Mhm.
nudity. I wait for the client to ask for it
Mhm.
and say, I'd really like to work on, usually it comes up as, I'd like to work on my body image issues.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, there's some ways we could do that. Let's kind of collaborate and see what feels good to you. Right. But it is kind of, I don't, secret menu sounds really saucy and spicy, but it is kind of something that I don't, um, it's not on my menu,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it is on my menu. You know, it's in my toolbox as one way to work on certain issues,
Mhm.
or just to feel more skin to skin. If you're an
Yeah.
established client,
Mhm.
I have a client that I've had naked cuddling with for years, like 4 years we've been doing this. It's comforting and it's helped with body image and he feels more comfortable in his skin, right? So yeah, I
Yeah.
like this topic.
Yeah, it's so neat. Yeah, I So I just grab my keyboard. Yeah, I was looking forward to this. See, so another answer to your earlier question that so one of the things I lead is clothing optional all male intimacy workshops. So I've had times where I've had a client where I haven't never had a one-on-one session with them. They did either like a whole day or a whole weekend workshop, and then I feel a lot of comfort after leaving that there. And then if they want to, it feels right for them to like move into clothing optional work in their first one-on-one session afterwards, like, yeah, I've done that, and that has felt great. So saying that's an example. And it's another thing you mentioned that I wanted to touch on. Uh, See, that's why I was getting my keyboard so I can write down that.
Yes. I know that for me, one thing I wanted to mention is when I don't
Oh,
feel like it's a good fit.
go ahead.
And that for me is somebody that is new and not willing to meet with me in a platonic clothed way first and work up to
Mhm.
it when they're really um determined to that be the whole focus of our work. I'm not a yes. That goes back to like my comfort zone and building that level of intimacy. And I think a workshop is a great place
Mhm.
to navigate that with new people.
Mhm.
There's something in community in nudity that
Mhm.
is self-policing
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
especially as a female practitioner to get naked with especially a male client.
Mhm.
There's a bigger risk factor for me,
Mhm.
right? I need to know you. I need to know how your intentions feel,
Mhm.
right? I remember back in the beginning of working as a professional cuddler asking that question of, are you settling for platonic or are you desiring platonic?
Mhm.
Because if you're using work with me as like it's good enough, it's not going to feel good to me. I'm going to pick up on that
Mhm.
inconsistency in our intention, and
Mhm.
that mismatched energy is a no for me anymore.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, so I thought it'd be, this isn't the focus of our talk, but I thought it'd be good that at least when I use, because I've experienced different people have different ideas of what platonic means. And my quick thought is for me, it means like not, especially like not intentionally romantic, not intentionally erotic or sexual. Yeah, I think that like those feelings might arise at times, still in like platonic space, and they're not intentionally like created or pursued. So yeah, one I want to mention also if people are watching us, they haven't heard the word platonic. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
mention that.
I just did an interview where I was asked on the spot, what is the difference between platonic and non-sexual?
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is a really good question. And I think what I've come up with is I do both. I think that it is code words, right? We had to do some of that when Sesta Fosta hit, and we had to really clean up some of our websites to make sure that the web crawlers didn't take us out, right? Because non-sexual has the word sexual in it,
Hmm.
right? So that's a little bit of it. But for me, I don't have any problems talking about sex in a session. I have
Hmm.
no problems connecting the dots and saying, like, example to a client, you see how close we are right now? Do you see what it would take to take this to the sexual realm? Like, I will take you right up to that edge and be
Hmm.
like, see, this is where you would do this and this, right? We've created safety, we have proximity. Like, I can point that out and I can answer sex ed questions and all those things.
Hmm.
That's that can be considered just non-sexual and that we're not going to take it there, but we're talking about it. I might not have any issues about arousal coming up in that space. It really depends on the client and what our goals are, right? But when I say platonic, I specifically mean that I want you to come in with the energy of a friend,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I don't want to be feeling this second guessing of what is your intention in being with
Hmm.
this in this space with me.
Sure.
Right? I can show up so much more fully when I'm not worried about what do they really want,
Hmm.
right? And we can feel that. I don't know how you feel when a client comes in, but I can feel if there's a longing, a wanting for something more than what I'm offering.
Mm.
Right. So that's kind of how I read the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Sometimes I'm just bouncing all over as I remember things. One, I appreciate you sharing about the potential benefit of this work is desexualizing our bodies, desexualizing some or all clothing being removed. And also, yeah, a beautiful thing myself and my clients, for some clients, has been like desexualizing certain body parts, like the breasts or penis or vagina. It can be either naked or it can be like held, and it can be in a really, yeah. Honestly, this is even like it's kind of because of my old program. It's still like even I was like, yeah, this kind of still blows that old part of my mind that like for example, with a client, uh we we had each of us would with had our like face like lying on each other's penises, and it was like non-erotic, and it was nurturing, and yeah, just appreciating our bodies and very relaxing. Wow, so how beautiful, how powerful and expansive, like expanding how we as humans can connect in the session, and then uh, clients can go out and have more ability. I'll say that's been amazing for me, more ability, more realm to connect with people in my personal life and
And
them
we
in
don't have to
theirs.
ignore it, right?
Right.
Like, I think one of the interesting things to do in session when we're nude is to purposely gaze at each other and
Mm,
look our bodies over,
mm,
right?
mm,
And do it with consciously, like we're not
mhm,
sneaking the look.
mhm,
Like, let's take
mhm,
some time and just purposely look each other over and get really curious.
mhm,
Um, on a similar note, I had a client that part of our body image work was accepting of his penis,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
That was a lot of our work. And there was a point where he got to a point where he said, "Can we celebrate my penis today?"
mhm, mhm.
And it was wonderful to not have to ignore a part of our body,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? It was so healing. It was beautiful to like
Mm.
co-create that space with him of how would we are we going to talk, we're going to say nice things about all the cool things
Mhm.
that we've done with our penis,
Mm.
right? All the great
Mhm.
places it's got us to, like
Mhm.
the adventures and like just loving
Mm.
this part of the body that we have to hide so much. Same
Yeah.
thing for vulvas, right? All the mixtures of configurations out there.
Mm.
Those parts of us get like tucked away and only allowed to be out during very minimal little time of the like the amount of time that we get to
Mm.
even look
Mm.
at them, especially for vulva
Mm.
owners. They're
Mhm.
not, they're hidden. Our genitals are hidden and we don't have to hold them every day to pee. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like there's a difference in how our bodies
Mm.
um interact with our genitals. And so
Mhm.
just having a space where they can be part of the session in a really different way,
Mhm.
in a different way than usual. It's cool.
Yeah.
We get to do
Yeah.
cool things.
I know. I feel so grateful that there's always more realms to explore. And I want to say for me personally, it yeah, it resonates so deeply, powerfully when you're talking about um, celebrating, appreciating our bodies. And for me, specifically, yeah, as a raised as a man, yeah, my penis or just my nakedness, like uh, whether it was directly or between the lines. Yeah, I feel like growing up, I got so many messages of like, oh, hide that, it's bad, it's dirty, we don't show it. And it's yeah, and it affects me. I think it affects probably almost all of us. So getting to be in a safe space where it's like celebrated and expansive is, yeah, feels so amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad we get to talk about this, Kyle.
Yeah. Uh, you let me know anytime you, I can share a little more. You let me know anytime you want to end, Michelle.
I feel like we can talk about this all day. It was going to turn into a really long video for people. Let's remind them how they can find us. Where are you
Sounds
at, Kyle?
sounds great. Yeah, I'm Kyle Robert Hoffman. Oh, and I forgot to say in the beginning, I'm based in Philadelphia, and I travel to clients and have been starting doing workshops and sessions in the winter in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, near like Wilden Manors, LGBTQ plus Mecca, and also clients have flown me out and stuff. And I work with people remotely. Yeah, and my website is cuddlingandcoaching.com. That's the best way to reach me. But also if you want to like friend me or follow me on Facebook or on my yeah, YouTube channel, that's great too.
Awesome. I'm at humanconnectionlab.com. I'm based in San Diego, but I too travel a bit, and I'm over on the East Coast in Baltimore a couple times a year. And so clients will come in and do a couple of sessions together, like a little mini intensive with me when I'm out there. And yeah, it's good to do this work. Yeah. Thanks for being
Yeah,
a great colleague.
yeah, well, thank you. You too, Michelle. It's been amazing to share this with you. And yeah, and everyone who's watching, I acknowledge you. I celebrate you for your courage and interest in listening to this. And say I'll speak for myself that if you're interested in if we're working together or if we haven't and you're just interested in this, just really warmly welcome to bring it up, and there won't be any judgment. You're not committing to anything. And I know, well, for myself, when I'm in the client seat and for so many people, these things can be really challenging and take a lot of courage to bring up and ask about. So I send everyone encouragement, whether it's me or people in your life. Send you encouragement to have these authentic conversations.
Yeah, it does not hurt to ask, at least us. I maybe start with the pro. If it's hard to ask people in your life, start with the pro. But
No, don't ask your don't ask your accountant or something.
no, oh my gosh, I could do a whole course on how to work with professionals. Like what not to ask your professional and what to ask your professional, which professional is it? But yeah. Well, thanks, Kyle. Well, I think we're both going to share this on our own YouTube. So back and forth, we'll put our links in there. So if you find Kyle through me or me through Kyle. Thanks so much. We love you. Mwah.
Thanks. Yep. Thanks. Bye bye.